Hello, this is Michael Owens with Here Come the Irish, and you're watching the Two Irish Brothers Show. Go Irish.
Quinn pumps once. Buys some time and finds Samardzija. Samardzija with a cutback. 5, touchdown!
How's it going, everyone? I'm Sean Moriarty.
I'm Benjamin Walters.
And this is the Two Irish Brothers Show. You guys know the drill. Hit the subscribe tab if you haven't done it yet. Like or dislike the video and help us in the algorithm department. And click that bell icon so you can always know when Ben and I upload some new material here on the channel. Well, Ben, so far this spring, we have been covering the United Football League a lot. That gives us, because there's really not much going on in the spring other than recruiting, which, don't get me wrong, is important for our Notre Dame and college football teams across the country. But now we're able to get back to that and talk what our main topic of this channel is, and that is Notre Dame football and college football in general. So I'm excited about this one, dude.
Yes, I am too. Very much.
It seems like a long time since. And I'm not including the shorts, but it seems like it's been a long time since we last did a college football or a Notre Dame themed video. So, but that's just how it is during the spring, And I'm sure most of you can understand that. But in this one, we have got a very special treat for you guys. And it could be controversial. It could be dangerous. It could be good. It could be bad. Ooh, it is way too early college football playoff predictions.
Yep.
That gives me shivers down my spine, Ben. Does it get the same for you?
Oh yes, very, very much so.
So that's exactly what Ben and I are going to do here. Let's face it. At least for me anyway, a lot of these way too early videos on whatever, whether it be NFL, MLB, whatever. It's always interesting to see what people predict and how things play out at the end of the season. I mean, in this case, being the spring, still a ways away from fall camp yet, but it doesn't hurt to get an idea of where we could be going come the end of this college football season. Now, some of you might think we're stupid as hell for our predictions. Some of you might like it. Some of you may be scratching your head. Some of you. It doesn't matter. This is where it gets fun.
Yep, exactly.
So we're now gonna do just that. And here's how we're gonna do it. Now, Ben, I have not seen yours, and you have not seen mine, correct?
No, exactly.
All right. I made mine into a picture. I don't know if you did, or if you're just.
I did not, but
okay. I have no idea what you're gonna say. You have no idea what I'm gonna say. But here's how we're gonna do this. I think you did do seeding, correct?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Well, I didn't do the seeding. I just predicted the field, just so that's clear.
That's fine.
So I'm not even going to get into all the top 25 rankings and start seeding. That's just I couldn't do it. So all I did was I just predicted the field. Okay. So here's what we're going to predict. We're going to predict the 4 Power 4 conference champions, the highest ranked group of 5 conference champion, and then the other 7 wild cards.
Yeah.
Just so that's clear with everybody watching. That's all we did. Ben decided to go the extra mile, which that shows a lot of dedication on your part, for real.
Well, you did a picture, so I think we're about even.
Sometimes working with Microsoft Paint, it can be a little to get things just right. It can be a little challenging sometimes, and it can be a little time consuming. So I hear you on that. But so with that said, Ben, I think I went first on the last. I'm
gonna make you go first because this was your idea, and I want it. So I feel like that's yours.
All right.
The floor is yours.
All right. So I got the picture right here. I'm gonna bring it up. Here is what I think the college football playoff field is going to look like come the end of the 2024 regular season. There you have it. So now here's the thing. In my opinion, some of these are very easy, but really when you think about it, there's a lot of there's a lot of difficulty in here too, and I'll explain more on that in a little bit after we both do ours. But here's how my 12-team field currently sits. SEC champions, Georgia Bulldogs. ACC champions, the Clemson Tigers. The Big Ten champs, Ohio State. The Big 12 champs, the Utah Utes. Now, this is where things got a little challenging for me, because it seems like, in my opinion, it seems like every year one of these the group of 5 teams seems to change all the time. But I went with the Tulane Green Wave because they, in my opinion, they seem to have really been making a splash lately. They've consistently been winning double-digit games. They upset USC in the Cotton Bowl, I believe it was. But there's actually were a few different teams that I could have picked from here. But we could always do another one of these too, where things change up. But I'm going to go with the Tulane Green Wave for my group of 5 champions, the highest ranked. And I forgot to add this, but I was going to put 4 check marks by the ones who get the first round bye. And, well, it's pretty easy who gets the bye here. The SEC, the ACC, the Big 10, and the Big 12 champions. Those all get the first round bye.
Yeah.
Now, here is the rest of the field. The other 7 teams that will make up the first ever 12-man college football playoff championship. Obviously, I'm going with us, the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame. I have the confidence that we're gonna make it. Then after that, I went with the Alabama Crimson Tide, and a lot of people are saying that Alabama could fall off, but I've been hearing that about Alabama for the last few years now, and they just don't seem to know how to fall off. They find a way to get themselves in there. The Oregon Ducks. I mean, what can I say? Oregon's a powerhouse. The Michigan Wolverines. And I think this year it's just a matter of Ohio State and Michigan just simply swapping spots. After that, the Texas Longhorns. Even with the adjustment to the SEC, I think they'll make it. The Ole Miss Rebels. They've been doing pretty well as of late. They've put out a lot of good teams. I went with them. And this is the last one here is where I also had a lot of trouble. Because there was a choice of like 3 different teams that could easily fill this last spot. And just in the end, I had to go with the Penn State Nittany Lions. And why exactly, I don't know, because there's the other teams I had in mind. They could easily pass them, but I think just I don't know. I don't really have a reason why at this moment, but just Penn State, I felt good about going with them. So, comments from you, Ben, on my round 12.
I like it a lot. I really do like it a lot. Yeah, the only shocker for me is Penn State. That's really the only one. The rest of them, I can see making a statement slash what is the word I'm looking for? Statement slash
jump.
Yeah.
Surprise. Shocker.
So yeah. Other than that, no, I agree with I can agree with most of these.
And doesn't the picture look nice too?
Oh, it does. I like it a lot.
See, what I wanted to do originally was to, well, you know what? I guess I could have done the brackets if I wanted to, but then again, it goes back to the seeding, and I wasn't ready to do that, so I just left the brackets blank and used that for a show.
Yeah.
All right, so with that said, I will take this off the screen, and the stage is yours.
So my SEC champion is actually a newcomer to the SEC, and that is Texas Longhorns.
Ooh.
Texas Longhorns knock off the Georgia Bulldogs in the SEC championship. That's the way I see it. And they are the number 1 seed, the number 1 team, if you will, in the playoff. And then the number 2 seed, in my opinion, will be the Ohio State Buckeyes, who will be the champion of the Big Ten. Yes, Oregon jumps in there. Yes, Southern Cal jumps in there. I think Southern Cal takes a major step back. Oregon is like 1 step behind Ohio State, in my opinion. And Ohio State wins the Big Ten championship and comes in at number 2. Number 3 is Clemson. The Clemson Tigers, the ACC champion. I think it's hard to keep Clemson down for very long with Dabo at the helm. So they are the ACC champion, and they come in at number 3. And then number 4 is a very interesting, somewhat newcomer, not legit newcomer, but a newcomer to their conference and a team that has not historically been a college football team and, player in the game, if you will.
Now I'm really interested.
The Big 12 champion Arizona Wildcats. Arizona finished the season, and here's my thing with Arizona. They finished the season 10-2. Both losses were to Mississippi State, which was an overtime loss in Starkville, and Southern Cal, which was a 3-point overtime loss as well. So they are one of the hottest teams coming into this new season, in my opinion, and Arizona has a very, very nice path, if you will, to the Big 12 championship, and they get that number 4 spot. Then coming in as the group of 5 team is actually my school, which will be the WKU Hilltoppers. The Hilltoppers had really big aspirations this past season. They did not meet those. They were expected to be a 1-2 loss team with losses to Ohio State and potentially Liberty. And they fell very short of that expectation. I think that they are renewed with a sense of urgency, and they get that final spot, and they come in at number 5 as the group of 5 at large powerhouse. And then we drop down to the wild cards. Obviously, it's hard to keep Georgia out of it. So Georgia is the number 1 wild card team, which would be the 6th spot. And then right behind them at the 7th spot is Notre Dame. It is hard to keep Notre Dame out of this. Go ahead.
Let me ask you a question, but just before we go any further, I'm guessing that your power 4 teams you predicted get the first round buys.
Yes, all those are first round buys.
Okay.
For their because of the conference championship affiliation.
Okay.
Yeah. So then Notre Dame comes in at number 7. It's hard for them to be any higher than 5 just due to the seeding process and the way that the format is currently. So that's why they're there. Yeah. I expect Notre Dame to be a potentially undefeated team coming into the playoffs. And then in the 8th spot, I have Ole Miss. Ole Miss is a up-and-coming. Lane Kiffin has them in a great spot. And then right behind them at number 9 is Oregon. Oregon is one step behind Ohio State, in my opinion. The only fact that hurts them is there's just a bunch of other teams that come from bigger and better situations.
That's what I'm going to get to in a second.
And that's going to be the fun and tough part with this college football playoff. And then in the number 9 spot, I have Alabama. I mean, like you said, it's hard to keep them down. Kalen DeBoer comes over from Washington. He is a guy that put a Washington team on the map, almost had a natty with them. And he inherits a program from arguably one of the greatest coaches of all time and probably the greatest coach of our generation, which is Nick Saban. He's in a great spot. And I think the only thing that hurts him is just how loaded the SEC is right now. I mean, everybody thought they were going to take a step back. They are continuing to rebuild and to reload. They're loaded. Coming in at number 10 is another surprise for, I think, a lot of people, and not super surprising to some, and that is Utah. The Utah Utes coming out of the Big 12. They are a team that's looking to rebuild slightly, but I don't think that they've taken much of a step back. So they get that. What was that? The 11th spot, 10th spot, 11th spot.
Yes, take a second, recount the teams if you have to.
And then last but certainly not least is the final team, which is
Drum roll.
Good.
I said
Yeah,
drum
a
roll.
very big, a big shocker for some, maybe not a super shocker for others. And that is Tulane. Tulane comes in as the final
Holy smokes.
as a
So
group of 5.
So you have 2 group of 5 teams in your final 12.
Yep.
Holy cow. Yeah, I don't know if controversy is a strong enough word here, dude. You know you're probably, if somebody watches this entire video, somebody's going to ask you what you're smoking.
That's okay.
You know how the trolls are, man.
Yep, I do.
Oh, wow. That's let's review here. Let's review. I'll bring mine up one more time. So, for me, the 4 Power 4 champions: Utah, Ohio State, Clemson, Georgia. Group of 5 team: Tulane.
Yep.
The 7 at-large bids: Notre Dame, Alabama, Oregon, Michigan, Penn State, Ole Miss, and Texas.
Yep.
So, just while I have this up, just to get a better visual, you have
Texas is the SEC champion.
Yeah,
ACC repeats is yours, which is Clemson. Big 10 repeats is yours, Ohio State. Big 12 is not Utah for me, it's Arizona. Group of 5 is not Tulane, it is WKU. And then at large, obviously the same one with us is Notre Dame and Alabama and Oregon. But then also Ole Miss. But then I have Utah, which you had as your champion. So it's still kind of one of the same as your finals. But then I have Tulane, who is the shocker. And then who am I blanking? Now you're making me blank on stuff.
See, because the reason I ask is you didn't have Michigan making the playoffs, did you?
No, I did not have Michigan. I don't have Michigan making the playoffs. I do not. And it's because of Harbaugh leaving. Harbaugh's leaving. They lost J.J. McCarthy. They lost Blake Corum. You know, there's a lot of holes in that Michigan Wolverine team right now. I think they don't even finish in the top 4 for the Big Ten this year.
Well, that's exactly why we call this video way too early.
I think it's, if you want to do a Big Ten 1 to 4, I think it's Ohio State, Oregon, and then Penn State, and then I would say probably a toss-up between Washington and who am I blanking on? Gosh darn. Who am I blanking on?
I'm sure it's not. You're certainly not going to say Iowa.
No, not Iowa.
Wisconsin?
Wisconsin. I'm sorry. Good. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for saying that. Wisconsin and then Michigan. We could see Rutgers. You don't know. I mean, they're kind of a wild card right now in the Big Ten. But Iowa's weak right now. Purdue is okay, but not super good. So, yeah, I mean, we're not going to get into Big Ten stuff too much, but yeah. So,
well, that's why we call this the way too early predictions, because we got all sorts of stuff going on here, and that's why I like it. But no, you make some good points about the Michigan part of this, because I was for sure that you were going to have them in there. But no, dude, your bracket, your way too early bracket is intriguing, dude. I mean that. Yeah. Just be prepared for the heat, because someone's going to go crazy. Yeah. But here's what I wanted to talk about involving stuff like this. So we essentially had were a couple of switcheroos. Yeah. You swap. I had Georgia winning it. You have Texas winning the SEC, and we just swapped them for which one goes in the at-large group, which one wins the conference. Yeah. But yeah, dude, I had when I put this together. Let's go with that with the group of 5 team. There were like four other teams that I considered putting there. Yeah. Just Tulane is the one who stands out for now. But that doesn't mean that a Liberty couldn't get on fire. I know Boise State.
No pun intended.
What?
I said no pun intended.
I didn't even think about that, but you're right. Nice catch there. I like it. But I know Boise State, there's been talk around them because they just got a pretty decent transfer. I think it was a quarterback that they had picked up through the portal. But you also can't count out anybody from, certain teams from the Sun Belt, like Appalachian State, Coastal Carolina. They've had a little bit of success recently. But Memphis is always, who knows what Memphis is going to do on any given year. So, dude, and again, I'm sorry, but, your Hilltoppers weren't in there, but that doesn't mean they couldn't have been.
Right. Well, and there's a bunch of other teams that are intriguing too, and it's not even just in Group of 5. It's across the board. Like, what will LSU do? They lost Jaden Daniels. What are they going to do?
I thought about LSU for
what's
that.
Missouri going to do? Missouri was kind of like the up and coming, kind of shocked the world, came out of nowhere team. They obviously beat Ohio State in their bowl game. Like, what are they going to do in the SEC? What's Florida going to do? Everybody's saying Florida's taking the next step forward with Napier and the return of Graham Mertz. What are they going to do in the SEC? Like, there's a lot of intriguing storylines across the board. What's Tennessee going to do? Does Tennessee take a step back? Do they take a step forward? What does Southern Cal do? They lose Caleb Williams. Their defense took a step back. It was kind of a classic Lincoln Riley team, high-powered offense, kind of weak defense. What do they do? They're in a new conference. There's a lot of intrigue. Kansas was a big name, out of nowhere team, obviously last year. What are they going to do? The list goes on and on and on for teams that are very, very intriguing coming into this season. Air Force had a phenomenal season as a service academy last season. So it's going to be really, really intriguing, and that's why we say it's way too early. It's a way too early prediction because I could see an Air Force team continuing the success they had last year and going on a tear and making the 12-team playoff as Group of 5 at large bid. Like, who knows? So it's going to be intriguing. It really is.
Yeah, absolutely. And the way too early, like I said, that's what makes this so much fun. Even if some people do call us names and call us crazy, whatnot, this is still fun regardless. But something I wanted to point out too is you look at both of our predicted brackets, or our field, I should say, both of our predicted fields, and you'll notice that they're very top heavy with Big Ten and SEC. Well, when you basically absorb the 5th major conference into everybody else and leaves you're left with, it's like you're not left with much of a choice. Right. And honestly, it's don't get me wrong, in the other two conferences, the ACC and the Big 12, yes, there are a lot of good teams in those conferences, believe it or not. Some people are like, what are you talking about, Sean? What are you smoking? Well, no disrespect to any of those teams. Because, yes, like, let's start with the ACC. Could you see an NC State or a Florida State maybe find a way to sneak in there? Yeah, it's possible. Yeah. And same with the Big 12. Like, could aside from the conference champion, I know I said Utah, you said Arizona, but let's go away from those two for a second. In a scenario like that, could the Big 12 get to 2 teams in that way, like you described with your bracket? But let's just say that only one goes. Yeah. Past the conference champion, could a team? I'll just go with my example. Utah winning it all. Could an Arizona get in there? Could a TCU? And I know it sounds weird because they took a big step backwards last year, but they're usually pretty consistent with what they put on the field, and they bounce back pretty quick. But or even an Oklahoma State. Yeah. Could these two conferences, the ACC and Big 12, had multiple teams in there? Not saying it's impossible, but with a top-heavy SEC and a top-heavy Big 10, it's going to be pretty hard. I'm telling you, this might sound crazy, but is it really? With the 7 at-large teams, you got to say minimum 5 spots are going to the Big Ten and the SEC.
Yeah, and it's because of who they brought into their conferences. That's the other thing. That's the big thing. This is not the Big Ten getting like Maryland and Rutgers. This is not the SEC getting Mizzou and A&M at the time. You know, this is the SEC getting Texas and Oklahoma, who are traditional powerhouses. Oklahoma's, you know, struggling a little bit, but you know, it's still Oklahoma. They still have a big recruiting pipeline. You know, they're blue blood. And then it's also the Big Ten expanding. You got Southern Cal coming. You got Oregon coming. You got Washington coming. Okay. 2 out of those 3 teams have made the playoffs multiple times. I mean, you know, and the crazy part is Southern Cal's not one of those 2, but Southern Cal is still a huge pipeline. They've been on the up and up. They've produced the Heisman winner in the last 10 years. You know, that's why you're going to have a bunch of teams from those 2 conferences in the playoffs. It's just fact.
Yeah. And it's just, and that's where I think it like I was saying, it leaves it very difficult for the ACC and the Big 12 to get multiple teams in there. Yeah. You know, because in the SEC and the Big 10, the 2 power conferences, if you will, you're going to have a bunch of blue bloods beating up on one another. And the funny part is a lot of those losers are probably still going to make the playoffs. So it's going to get very difficult for the ACC and the Big 12.
Yeah.
But again, this is where it's all fun, though. It's like these are the scenarios that a lot of fans have been wanting to see, and now we're going to get it.
Yeah.
And if they're really going to expand to 14, it could be even more chaotic. Who knows?
Yeah. Yep.
But that's what happens with conference realignment. You get all these powerhouses.
Well, and you also have to remember that.
Sorry.
The opening weekend of college football is going to be crazy. I mean, it's going to be absolutely nuts. You know, I mean, the first couple weeks, you have Georgia, Clemson, you have Florida, Miami, you have who's the other big one? Hold on, let me pull it up. Notre Dame and A&M. You know, I mean, these are teams that are all vying for, you know, just to name a few, a potential playoff spot, and one of them is going to go home with a loss in week 1 or 2 off the bat. Like, that's crazy. So that's tough. That's a very tough road to hoe.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's going to be nuts. It's going to be absolutely nuts, and that's why these are way too early predictions.
And I think really, even when it becomes more clear, really, and I hate saying this, but a lot of these other conferences, for them to get multiple teams in, or even in your scenario of 2 group of 5 teams making it, which like I can't say enough, I like that because it's going to stir up a lot of stuff probably. But the only way they're going to see multiple teams getting in the playoffs is probably if we go down.
Yeah.
So that makes the eyes on Notre Dame even more compelling, if you will, for lack of a better term.
Yep.
Because you know, I'm not saying it's easy for us, but the road to the playoffs are better for us because we don't have a conference championship. We don't have to play that extra game. We win the regular season. We go 12-0. There's no way they can keep us out.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. I agree.
So, but this is definitely a good way to kick off college football 2024 for our channel. And I like your bracket very much. I hope you like mine.
I do. I think both are super intriguing. It'll be crazy, and it'll be also really cool to see like how correct and incorrect we are.
Yeah, so, and listen, we could always do another one of these.
We most likely will. So
yeah. So yeah, I mean, this was a lot of fun, Ben. And listen, to everybody watching, if you made it this far through the video, I hope this has really piqued your guys' interest. Let us know in the comment section. Do you think our brackets were good? Were they bad? Who should be in there? Who should not be in there? And so on. What do you think? Let us know. We want to hear what you guys think on that. So yeah, with that said, Ben, this is a very fun video. I have nothing else left to add. Do you?
I got nothing.
Well, that's what we got a whole summer for. So, on that note, everyone, I'm Sean Moriarty.
I'm Benjamin Walters.
And as we always say, good night, God bless, and go Irish, baby.
Go Irish.